maybe it's me. Maybe I'm the worst in the world at goals. Maybe everybody else is great at goals and I'm not good at goals. But then you look at the research, and the research says things like this: 92% of all New Year's resolutions fail. But we've all had goals we start and then we don't finish them. And part of the problem is we celebrate the wrong part of a goal. We say things like, well begun is half done. You remember incomplete goals more than completed ones. Sometimes CEOs I work with, they want to be bold and powerful. They make crazy statements that everyone in the building knows will never work. Guess what happens the next time, the third time, and the fourth time? Nobody believes you. It becomes part of your culture that we say things we don't keep. A goal isn't a goal is a promise. It's a promise you make to your people. It's a promise you make to yourself. How does somebody actually finish? An individual, a company, a team, a leader, how do you finish? You've got to get the size of the goal right. You start to overestimate what you can do. You start to believe, okay, we can do more than we actually can. But you have these 4 components: the results, what you want to happen, the timeline, how long it's going to take, the motivation, the fuel, the fire, and then the action. And then planning fallacy gets in the middle and it wrecks it. Because it tells us, okay, it has to be massive, it has to be massive, it has to be fast. Most companies that are successful are really good at results and timelines, which leaves us the other 2 parts of a goal: our motivation, our action. Now, the problem with motivation is we tend to believe a myth. We tend to believe that motivation grows during a goal. And unfortunately, that's not how motivation works. Usually, the very first thing to leave during your goal is your motivation. How do we make sure the motivation stays up? If you want to finish your goals, you have to make it fun. Most Americans think a goal has to be difficult or miserable to count. I wanted to be able to prove to companies that fun played a role. And part of it is, as Christians, we should own that idea. I mean, we have a father who fixes problems with a party. The prodigal son story doesn't make sense in anywhere else other than the gospel. How often when God is quiet, do you assume it means he's mad, disappointed, frustrated? What if he's got you embraced and he's just too busy planning your party? What if that's how we ran our companies? We ran them with such joy and such fun that people couldn't help to go, okay, something's happening here. Satisfaction, how did you feel? Performance, how did you do? Any leadership principle you hear better raise both of those. Here's why. If I only raise your satisfaction but not your performance, you end up smiling all the way to last place. We're failing, but it's so fun. If I only raise your performance but not your satisfaction, you know what happens? You become every rich, miserable person you've ever met. Make your goals fun. Make them fun. Let's see what happens. And here's what happened. People that did had a 31% increase in satisfaction, but the crazy stat is they had a 46% increase in performance. Be serious, do serious work, but just know that when you add joy to it, when you add fun to it, it improves your culture, it improves your performance, it helps your ROI. 2 types of motivation. They look at reward and they look at fear. As I work on my goals, what are the parts I need to add some reward or some consequence to make sure I actually finish? Figure out what the people you work with, the people you lead, are motivated by. Every leader's had this experience where they try to motivate somebody with the wrong form of motivation. And there's some employees, you can throw tons of rewards at them, they could care less. That's not entitlement. That's just not their value system. Leaders who help others win get to be leaders for a long time. That's our job, to figure out how do we help other people win. One of the lies I hear is that the higher you climb up a ladder, the more successful that you get, the less you can ask for help. There's this old school leadership mentality that says, if I share my weaknesses, people won't trust my strengths. I think the new school is, if I pretend I don't have weaknesses, people won't trust my strengths. And I think the higher you go, the bigger thing you build, the more you need to say things like, I don't know, I was wrong, I'm sorry, can you help? But we need to learn from other people. We need to ask questions. Rooms like this matter because it's really isolating to be a Christian business leader and feel like you're the only one. Starting is fun, but the future belongs to finishers. If 92% of people fail their goals, do you know what happens when you become the 8% that don't? You become rare and valuable. You change communities. Your nonprofits grow. You change the world. There's something really special happening as people live out their faith, as they work on their faith, as they do it with excellence, as they do it to create questions, as they live with joy, as they say, okay, here's where my motivation comes from, here's where my actions come from.